Hello everyone, welcome. I think it's been a couple of years since I last did a best concealers for mature skin, and since then, a lot of new concealers have come on the market. I'm going to present this updated best of version in a different manner. The other day, we were having our electrical board outside completely replaced. So we had no electricity. So I took that opportunity to sit down at my vanity and do a full declutter. Eyeshadow palettes, lipsticks, lip glosses, eyeliners, brushes, foundations. But when I got to my concealer bin, I thought, why don't I do this not just as a declutter, but as my best of video? Because what better proof is there of me really liking a product than me having multiples of it and or being ones that I use regularly. So I'm going to go through this entire bin with you, give you a quick review of each, a very brief review of each, tell you why I use it regularly or why I don't. And then at the very end, I will give you my ultimate top 5 concealers for mature skin. Before I dive in, for anyone that is new, my name is Risa. I was a makeup artist for more than 25 years before becoming a full-time content creator here on YouTube. I'm going to be 52 years old in May. I have oily skin, but like most people, my under eyes are quite dry. Now that that is out of the way, let's dive into this basket. First up, Natasha Denona's High Glam Concealer. I rave about this all the time. I have the shades R2 and N4. And to me, this is one of the best concealer releases of the past 5 years. It offers really great coverage. There is a wide range of shades. I find it to be extremely hydrating. It lasts all day. It remains crease-free for hours. It's basically everything I look for in a concealer, and you probably do as well. So a lot of these concealers are going to be similar in that respect. So I've got 2 of the Natasha Denona concealers. I have got one of this Givenchy concealer. This is the Prism Libre Skin Caring Concealer. And I will have all of the shade names listed down below in the description box next to the link for the product. I really like this concealer. I would probably use it more often if I had gotten the right shade. This one is a little bit light for me. A lot of times, I admit, I do order product online versus going into the store. And quite often that is a big mistake because I do end up with a product that is either too light or too dark. So yes, this one is a little bit light for me. I don't like my under eyes to be too light. I do like this applicator. I happen to enjoy a large doe foot. And this one has a little bit more of a serum-like feel than the Natasha Denona. And it also has slightly less coverage. So if you have really dark circles, I don't think that this would be my top recommendation for you, but I do like it. Let's talk about Tarte Shape Tape. I have several shades of this as well. And this is probably what I would call the most coverage. If you have really dark circles, and you don't want to use a corrector before concealer because that's just an extra step that you just don't want to do, this is a great concealer. However, if you're going to use this and your under eyes are very dry, you are going to need to prep your under eye really well. And by that, I mean using some sort of eye patch beforehand, a hydrating eye patch, and then a really nice hydrating eye cream. Wait a few minutes and then apply this with a light hand. I've heard time and time again people say that this is not good for mature skin, but just like with any cosmetic product, nothing is going to be one size fits all. Even with this type of video, I don't like to make blanket statements like these concealers are going to work for everyone with mature skin. Let's be honest, I cannot say that with 100% certainty. But the reason why I do these videos is because I'm 90% certain that most people with mature skin are going to like them. But when it comes to Tarte Shape Tape, some people are going to love it, some people are not. And also, let's keep in mind that in the beauty industry, like it or not, Mature skin is classified as anyone aged 35 or older. But we all know that 35-year-old under eyes are different than 55-year-old under eyes, which are also different than 75-year-old under eyes. And I know I have people watching my videos of all of those ages. Now, if you do like Tarte Shape Tape, you like how long it wears, you like that full coverage, but it's a little out of your budget, may I recommend to you this L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear. This, in my opinion, is very, very similar to the Sharp Tape Shape, I think was what I was going to say. Tarte Shape Tape. It's got a very similar applicator, both being a very large doe foot. Both, once again, very high coverage. Not the most hydrating though. So with this one as well, you're going to want to make sure that your under eyes are really, really hydrated before using. Next up is my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Concealer. I have this in 2 shades as well. This is so good. If you are a luxury makeup lover, perhaps you're someone who already uses the infamous Luminous Silk foundation, you should really try the Luminous Silk Concealer. This is such a nice feeling concealer. It goes on like silk, like you're putting on the finest silk blouse. And it is the perfect medium coverage. And it is definitely on my top 5 under eye concealers of all time list. All right, let's talk about a very underrated concealer. This is the MAC Studio Fix 24-Hour Smooth Wear Concealer. I've gone through several of these over the years. This is a little workhorse concealer. If you're someone that works 12-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts, and you need that concealer to look as good at the end of that shift as it did when you first applied it, this is a great option. This is not quite as hydrating, in my opinion, as the Natasha Denona or the Armani, but I also don't find it to be drying. Once again, it has that perfect medium coverage, a very nice shade range. This is another one that I recommend over and over and over again. And I also recommend over and over and over again the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear Concealer. This is another excellent long-wearing option that meets all of my criteria. Next up is an oldie but goodie. This was definitely on probably all of my old best of lists. This is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I still really, really like this one. I don't reach for it quite as often because I have all of these others that I just like a little bit better, but you really can't go wrong with this one. And if I had to say which one of these concealers had the best shade range, this would definitely be in the top 3. I've also been crazy about the Kulfi concealer for a couple of years now, and I have repurchased this a couple of times. Now you might be thinking, why is she even repurchasing a concealer when she has all of these others? As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that just means that I really like it, that I use it a lot, that I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm telling you that it offers amazing coverage. It's super hydrating. It lasts all day long. It has a thinner applicator, which is really nice for getting right in here, right in that corner of the eye next to your nose, where most of us have some really dark shadows. It really brightens up those areas. And this shade, Cocoa Crush, has the perfect combination of beige and peach. Okay, next up is the Tower 28 Concealer. This is called Swipe Hydrating Serum Concealer. This is another truly fabulous concealer. For all the reasons I've mentioned, all the positive attributes that I've already talked about ad nauseum so far in this video, and I would go so far as to say that it is up there in hydration terms with the Natasha Denona. The coverage of the Natasha Denona, I was about to say is a little bit better, but I'm thinking back to the days that I have used this one after this one, meaning I used this concealer one day and then the next day I used the Tower 28. And I'm always taking notes about products so that I have those notes when I do videos like this. Yeah, looking back at my notes that I've made about the Tower 28, I did write incredible coverage, which is unusual for me, with a serum concealer. I don't tend to have really good luck with serum concealers. I find that while they may be packed with a lot of good ingredients to help lighten dark circles, hydrate the under eye area, they simply don't have the coverage I'm looking for, and that's a bummer. But this one does. What I want to do now, I've shown you most of my favorites. I'm going to run through pretty quickly the ones that I am going to be decluttering. Starting with the Huda Beauty concealer. This one just felt really dry under my eyes, and it had almost too much coverage. So it got really cakey, and I just don't love it. I also don't love the Charlotte Tilbury concealer. Yeah, with these, I just don't think they have great coverage. They're not as long wearing as I would like them to be. I'm also not a huge fan of this Anastasia Beverly Hills concealer. It's just too thick. It got cakey underneath my eyes. The Ilia concealer, not enough coverage. The LYS Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer. I think I need to try this one again because I don't remember if I liked it or I didn't like it. So we're going to set that one off to the side to try again. House Labs. This one is very controversial. I do like this one, but once again, I purchased it in a shade that is way too light for me. So word of advice, never, well, not never, but try not to judge a product if you have it in the wrong color, because that can throw so many things off. So I feel like I haven't really given this one a fair chance because the shade just isn't quite right for me. I do have notes about this one too. I wrote down that it was hydrating, highly concentrated, meaning that a little bit does go a long way, easy to blend, and looked beautiful after many hours. So this one I do recommend. Also on here, I have notes about the All Hours from YSL. This too is a really beautiful concealer. It's got one of those bigger doe foot applicators, easy to blend, hydrating, long wearing. Yes, this video is becoming very repetitive. And now I'm starting to think that maybe this wasn't the best idea because there's just not a huge point of difference between so many of them. I'm noticing as I'm doing this, honestly, you can't go wrong with a lot of the concealers I've spoken about so far. So let's get back to the ones I don't use very often. The Say concealer. Not enough coverage with this one. Oh, here's another Charlotte Tilbury. The Danessa Myricks Lift Flex Concealer. I liked this one a lot at first, but then I became a little indifferent to it. I don't know what it is about it. I'll have to try it again. I don't think I'm going to get rid of it, but I think one of the issues I had with it was that the tone was a little bit too olive for me, and I need, as I mentioned earlier, something a little bit more peachy. Speaking of peachy, this Cali Ray Hideaway. So good. We all have those days where we wake up and our under eye circles are just so much worse than they were the day before. And we need that extra coverage, even beyond what some of these fuller coverage concealers can provide. This Cali Ray concealer is fabulous. It really brightens up the entire eye area without giving you that sort of reverse raccoon eye effect. It blends out so easily. This is a great product just to keep in your purse for a midday brighten up. I am decluttering the Kosas concealer. Again, not enough coverage for me. The Sephora Best Skin Ever Glow Concealer. I don't remember what I didn't like about this, but I remember I didn't like it. Let me see if I have notes about this one. Very little coverage, kind of drying. Yeah, decluttered. And this number 7 Lift and Illuminate Triple Action Concealer. This is a really good drugstore option if you have not so dark circles. If you don't need a ton of coverage, more like light medium, everyday natural coverage. This is hydrating, it is long wearing, and while it's not my personal favorite, I do think it is a good budget-friendly option. Hourglass concealer. I have 2 of these. I have heard so many conflicting opinions on these concealers, and what I'm finding is younger people and younger influencers love this. Older people, older influencers like myself, either are indifferent to it or they simply don't like it. It's just not hydrating enough. If you're like me and you have dry under eyes, but they're not extremely dry, then you might like this. I do enjoy the way it feels going on. It does have that really silky, smooth, blendable, almost whipped texture to it versus that real liquidy serum type texture. But I have found in testing all of these concealers over the years and also using so many different concealers on clients in the past when I was doing freelance makeup work, the thicker and creamier a concealer is, the more likely it is to crease. While it might feel really hydrating going on, that thickness, that creamy feel is ultimately going to end up in your creases. So finding that perfect balance of hydration and coverage, obviously not that easy. Hence why you're watching this video for some guidance. So personally, I do like the Hourglass Concealer. Is it top 5? That remains to be seen. Milani Conceal and Perfect Concealer. My regular viewers know how I feel about this one. Because I do talk about that concealer so much, I have gotten some feedback from a few viewers that say, unfortunately, it didn't work for them. It wasn't as hydrating as they would like. But for the most part, I would say 8 out of 10 people who tell me their thoughts on the concealer after they try it, they like it too. They like the coverage, they like the hydration, they like the shade range, they like the price point. That is another concealer that I will always very easily recommend to people. This one is from Tom Ford. I don't even know if they still make this. I know I brought my glasses in here and I cannot find them. All right, let's do the whole photo. Zoom in. Traceless Soft Matte Concealer. This is 2NO. This is great for the face. If you've got things on your face that you want to cover, this is great for that. But I found it to be too drying for under my eyes, and that is not acceptable at a Tom Ford price point. And then finally, the Revolution IRL Filter Finish Soft Matte Concealer. This one is really nice. I always talk about this, well, maybe not always, but I often talk about this in my best drugstore makeup videos. I really disliked the Revolution IRL foundation when it came out. And if I remember correctly, it was one of the worst foundations I had ever used. So when I saw that there was a concealer, I was very hesitant to purchase it. But I did, and I was pleasantly surprised. Great coverage, long wear, crease resistant. Again, all of those things that I look for in a concealer. I also found that in the Dior Forever Skin Correct. I don't know why this is at the bottom of the bin, because I use this one a lot. This concealer is so beautiful. It offers full yet natural looking coverage, a very wide range of shades. It's long wearing and transfer proof. So if I had to choose my ultimate top 5 concealers for mature skin, it would honestly be the Dior Forever Skin Correct. Then we've got my Kulfi Concealer, Armani Concealer, Natasha Denona Concealer, and then number 5, Tower 28. These are my top 5. But what about Drugstore? These are my top 3. So I will have everything listed and linked for you, as always, down in the description box of the video and also linked through YouTube Shopping. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to leave them for me in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. And if you are not already subscribed to my channel, I hope that you will consider doing so. I do upload new videos at least twice a week. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. My username is the same on every social media platform. It's Risa Does Makeup. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video.